True love can't be stopped, she said at their wedding. I rebuilt alone. 8 years later, she sobbed in my office. The loan will ruin us. I held the papers to their house and said, true love should have included reading the fine print. My sister Celia sat across from my desk, mascara streaming down her face in thick black rivers. The same face that had smiled radiantly as she'd said, I do, to my fiancé. The same face that had looked at me with fake sympathy when she'd announced their engagement 6 months after stealing him. Please, Meredith. We'll lose everything. Yes, I agreed, straightening the foreclosure documents. You will. 8 years ago, I'd been 26 and planning my dream wedding to James. We'd been together since college, built our lives together, saved together. The wedding was 3 months away when I decided to surprise him with lunch at his office. I'd found him in the conference room with Celia, my younger sister, my maid of honor. They weren't conferencing about anything work-appropriate. It's not what it looks like, James had said, the cliché so pathetic I'd actually laughed. It looks like you're screwing my sister in your office. We didn't mean for it to happen, Celia had said, adjusting her skirt. But true love can't be stopped, Mary. True love. They'd been sneaking around for 6 months, apparently. While I'd been addressing invitations and tasting cakes, they'd been falling in true love. The wedding, I'd started. We'll postpone it, James had said quickly. Give you time to process. Then maybe. You think I'll marry you after this? No, Celia had stepped forward. He means postpone it so we can plan our wedding. James and I are getting married. The cruelty of it had literally taken my breath away. Not just the betrayal, but the casual assumption that I'd step aside gracefully. That I'd hand over my fiancé, my wedding, my life to my prettier, younger sister. You're delusional. You're 26, Celia had said, as if that explained everything. I'm 22. James is 30. It makes more sense. You're married to your career anyway. My career. I just started as a junior analyst at a private equity firm, working 18-hour days to build something. Apparently, that made me less deserving of love than my sister, who lived off our parents and posted inspirational quotes on Instagram. The family had been divided but ultimately sided with true love. Mom said I'd find someone else. Dad mumbled about not letting this tear the family apart. Our brother Kevin just shrugged and said James was still a good guy. They'd used the vendors I'd booked, the venue I'd chosen, the band I'd hired. They'd even kept the same date, sending me a courtesy invitation, so there were no hard feelings. I'd spent their wedding day in another city, interviewing for a job I didn't get. But the trip had led to a chance meeting with Victoria Ashford, CEO of Ashford Capital, who'd been impressed by my knowledge and hunger. You remind me of myself, she'd said. Angry and brilliant. That's a powerful combination if channeled correctly. She'd hired me on the spot. I'd channeled everything, rage, pain, ambition, into becoming her protege. 18-hour days became 20-hour days. I lived on coffee and determination, studying markets while others slept, building portfolios while others partied. By 30, I was managing director. By 32, I'd launched my own fund with Victoria's blessing and backing. Meridian Capital specialized in distressed assets, failing businesses that could be rebuilt or stripped for parts. I had a talent for seeing which were which. Meanwhile, Celia and James had been living their true love story. Funded by debt. The house they couldn't afford on his mid-level salary. The cars to maintain their image. The fertility treatments when true love didn't immediately produce Instagram-worthy babies. All financed by loans from questionable lenders at astronomical rates. They'd come to me 2 years ago, desperate for a bailout. It's just a bridge loan, James had said, avoiding my eyes. Until my promotion comes through. Your promotion at the company that's been downsizing for 3 years? We wouldn't ask if we weren't desperate, Celia had pleaded. You're doing so well. Surely you can help family. Family. The word had burned. I don't mix business with family, I'd said coldly. Try a bank. We have. Our credit is. James had trailed off. Destroyed? Because you've been living beyond your means since day one. We've had some bad luck. No, you've had bad judgment. There's a difference. They'd left angry, Celia muttering about my selfishness. But they'd found another way. A private lender who'd given them what they needed at 30% interest. The paperwork had been complex, full of clauses and conditions they hadn't bothered to read. What they hadn't known was that Meridian Capital had recently acquired that lender's portfolio. I'd bought their debt along with 100 others, planning to restructure the legitimate loans and call in the predatory ones. Imagine my surprise when I'd seen familiar names on the list. You bought our loan? Celia's voice cracked. You specifically targeted us. I bought a portfolio of distressed debt. You happened to be in it. Though I'll admit, the irony is delicious. This is revenge. This is business. You took a loan you couldn't afford at terms you didn't understand. The chickens have come home to roost. It's our home, where we're raising our children. Ah yes, the children. Twin boys 3 years old. Born after 4 rounds of IVF that had deepened their debt spiral. I'd seen the birth announcement, the perfect family photo that had hidden their financial disaster. The children you couldn't afford, but had anyway because true love conquers all? That's cruel. That's accurate. You've been making minimum payments for 2 years. The balloon payment is due next month. $1.5 million. Do you have it? She sobbed harder. You know we don't. Then you know what happens next. Please, Meredith. I'm your sister. You were my sister when you slept with my fiancé. How'd that familial bond work out? I've apologized 1,000 times. No, you've justified 1,000 times. There's a difference. James appeared in my doorway then, older, heavier, wearing defeat like a cheap suit. Meredith, please. If not for us, for the boys. They're innocent. So was I. Didn't stop either of you. We'll do anything, he said desperately. Payment plans, refinancing, anything. I leaned back, studying them. 8 years had not been kind. Celia's Instagram perfect life had stress-aged her. James looked like a man drowning in responsibility he'd never wanted. There is one option, I said finally. Hope flared in their eyes. A full audit of your finances. Every penny accounted for. Lifestyle adjustments, you'll sell the cars, downsize everything. I'll restructure the loan at a rate you can actually afford. But there are conditions. Anything, Celia breathed. You'll make a public statement about financial literacy. Warn others about predatory lending and living beyond means. You'll volunteer at financial counseling centers. And you'll stop pretending on social media that your life is perfect when you're drowning in debt. Public humiliation, James said flatly. Public honesty. Something you two should try. And if we refuse, then I foreclose next month. Your choice. Why would you help us at all? Celia asked. Because I'm not you. I don't destroy families for personal satisfaction. But I also don't enable delusion. You want to keep your home? Earn it. Show the boys that mistakes have consequences, but can be fixed with hard work and humility. The boys, Celia whispered. Do they know their aunt exists? Another condition. They meet me. Learn about me. No more pretending I died or disappeared. They deserve to know they have an aunt who built an empire from the ashes of betrayal. You want to turn them against us. I want them to know there are different paths. That their mother chose love over loyalty, and it led here. That their aunt chose ambition over bitterness, and it led to a different here. They deserve all their truths, not just the Instagram version. They agreed, of course. What choice did they have? The financial counseling sessions were brutal for them. Seeing their spending laid bare, the designer clothes, the country club membership they couldn't afford, the vacations charged to credit cards. True love, apparently, was expensive. But they did the work. Sold the luxury cars for practical ones. Moved the boys to public school. Celia got a job, her first real job at 30. James took on freelance work instead of waiting for promotions that would never come. The first time I met my nephews, they were shy but curious. Mommy says you're rich, one said. Mommy says you're mean, the other added. I am rich, I confirmed. And sometimes being mean and being fair look the same to people who want things they haven't earned. What's earned? It's when you work for something instead of taking it from someone else. Celia had flinched at that, but said nothing. Slowly, we built something. Not a relationship. That bridge had burned too spectacularly. But a détente. I restructured their loan to something manageable. They made payments on time. The boys visited my office, fascinated by the woman who'd emerged from family photos scissored in half. Aunt Mary, they'd ask, why don't you come to family dinners? Because sometimes people hurt each other too badly to sit at the same table. But that doesn't mean we can't care from a distance. Did Mommy and Daddy hurt you? Yes, but I used that hurt to build something better. That's what we do with pain. We transform it into power. James found me alone once during a pickup. Do you hate us? No. Hate takes energy I'd rather use on growth. But I don't forgive you either. Forgiveness would require me to minimize what you did, and I won't do that. Celia loves you. She always has. She just wanted what you had. She wanted who I had. There's a difference. And she got him, along with all the debt and disappointment that came with choosing flash over substance. I wasn't flash. You were a symbol. The handsome fiancé, the big wedding, the life she thought I didn't deserve because I worked too much. How's that working out? He'd left without answering. Last month, they made their final payment. Free and clear, debt resolved, lesson learned. Celia had sent a thank you card, store-bought, not handmade, because they'd learned the difference between sentiment and sense. We couldn't have done this without you, she'd written. I'd filed it under closed accounts. The boys are 6 now. They know their aunt is successful, that she helped their parents, that family is complicated. They don't know the full story. That will come later, when they're old enough to understand that true love sometimes looks a lot like selfishness, and that rebuilding alone can make you stronger than staying together ever could. True love can't be stopped, Celia had declared at her wedding. But it could be invoiced, restructured, and held accountable. And sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying those who betrayed you. It's becoming so successful that saving them feels like charity, not revenge. They'd stolen my fiancé and my faith in family. I'd rebuilt an empire and taught them the interest rate on betrayal. The loan was forgiven. The theft never would be. But somewhere between the wedding I didn't attend and the debt I restructured, I'd learned something valuable. The best response to someone stealing your future isn't bitterness. It's building a better one and making them watch from the outside, forever knowing they traded gold for glitter. And when the glitter fades and the bills come due, well, true love can't be stopped. But compound interest is forever. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.